This is the art of selling travel. We're diving in to give you useful and practical tips on how to make more money starting now. We're pulling back the curtains on the best sales strategies to show travel professionals how to close more sales and create raving fans. Helping travel advisors master the art of selling travel. You can't market your way out of a selling problem. This is the art of selling travel. And here to guide you through it all, Glenda Beagle.
Welcome. I am so excited to do this episode. Actually, this next series of 3 episodes. If you caught the last episode, I let you in on a little secret. The next 3 are all going to be a part of a group of episodes all coming in together. And I have wanted to do this series of episodes for so long. This is actually one of the triggers that really made it so that it was like, yes, 100%, I need to start a podcast. So what are we talking about? Professional fees, service fees, planning fees, whatever it is you want to talk, whatever it is that you want to call it, we're just going to call it a fee. And we're going to talk about who should be charging them, who should not be charging them, because yes, not everybody should be charging a professional fee. Not everybody deserves a professional fee. I bet some of you might have just went, what? Like, what you talking? Yeah, because everybody in the industry talks about how you must be charging fees. So now that we got that part out of the way, I'm going to tell you 99% of you absolutely must be charging fees. It is a very small percentage of people who should not be. But we're also going to talk about what is it that the fee is for? Why should you be charging them? What is it that it covers? What does it not cover? What is it all about and that sort of thing? So who should not be charging fees? Well, quite frankly, that's an order taker. That's somebody who the client comes to them and says, hey, I saw this online. Can you book it? And they're like, yep, clickety, click. Let me just book that right up for you. If you're not doing your job, if you are not qualifying your client, if you are not taking time to consult for them, then absolutely, you should not be charging a fee. You should be putting in the work, because just because a client says this is what I want, it doesn't mean that's actually what it is that they actually want. We have to take a moment and take a step back. Where are people getting their information? Are they getting it from review sites? Now, as much as we all talk about the fact that reviews, that every business out there lives and dies by the review, reviews are probably the most subjective thing out there. Companies with bad reviews, they know how to hide them. I was just listening to an influencer out there who has a botched plastic surgery, and she's discovered on Yelp that there was hundreds of hidden reviews. There is all sorts of things that can be hidden when it comes to review sites if you have the money. And a lot of those hotels, yep, they got the money. But also too, where did they get their information? Or like when you're talking about reviews. So I know of a 2-star hotel in Mexico that consistently gets a 5-star rating from its guests and its patrons, but yet a good 4.5-star, almost a 5-star, or actually it's typically your 5 stars, the ones that are actually ranked a 5-star, that are most likely to get absolutely obliterated and shattered, because it's all about the expectation. A review is completely, did they meet or exceed your expectations? Well, when people are buying a 2-star, they have 2-star expectations. When they are buying a 5-star, they have 5-star expectations. And if you've been around the block any length of time, you know as well as I do that the stars don't actually mean a whole heck of a lot about the property itself. It's based on the number of amenities. It's based on the number of services. When it comes to the all-inclusive, how many wines are included? Like what all is included? How many restaurants are included? How many pools are there? How big is the gym? Do they have a gym? How many services does a spa have? All those things go into figuring out whether or not it is a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, or something in between. But rarely does it actually come down to the actual, how are the staff treating the clients? What is the cleanliness like? What is the quality of the food? Because those star ratings are based quite often just on things that are on paper, or Up here in Canada, we get these brochures from our suppliers, or we did pre-COVID, where this room block with this supplier at this hotel was a 5-star, but this room block with this supplier in a smaller page in their brochure was only a 4-star. So there's a lot of backroom negotiations that go on. So when you have a client who looks at it, they're like, I don't know. So they're going to go to the reviews. And the client that bought it as a 5-star is more likely to be critical of it than a client that bought it as a 4-star. So the one that got it as a 4-star, they're like, wow, this was amazing. Yeah, it would have been nice to have a nicer room, but I know that I got a deal. So this property is amazing. But then the one that bought it as a 5-star is like, this would be like a 4.5 at best. So therefore, they really ticked me off because they sold it to me as a 5-star. So that's it. I'm going to say it was dirty. I'm going to say it was this. I'm going to say it was that. And it wasn't necessarily that bad. But because it is a completely subjective point of view that they're sharing, it's going to change it. So a lot of times clients will come and they'll be like, I checked out the reviews and this is the one I want. But yet when you, as the travel professional, start reading into those reviews, or better yet, have experience with having sent clients to that or worked with other travel advisors who have clients that went to that property, you can be like, I don't think those reviews are quite what you think they are. Things like that. So if you don't do any consulting whatsoever, you do clickety click, 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 let me just book that for you, then no, I'm sorry, you don't deserve a fee. Because a fee is for your professionalism. It is for your taking on the file. It is for you to be able to talk with your clients and say, you know what? It is more important to me that you get an amazing experience and an amazing trip than it is for me to cash my 6% commission or 8% commission or whatever it is. Because when you focus just on closing a sale rather than making sure it's the right experience, again, you are going to hear me say this in podcast after podcast after podcast. You are in a race to the bottom. People are not loyal to you based on price. They are loyal to the price. So if ever you think that absolutely the only way I can compete is on price, I assure you, you have already lost the battle. So what is it that a fee is actually for? Well, we've already kind of talked about that. It's making sure before you ever book anything that you're getting the clients what it is that they actually want, that you're actually giving them what it is that they've asked for. Now, a lot of times clients will say, there's that kind of that saying that says, give them what they want, sell them what they want, give them what they need. Well, here's the deal. A lot of times people will be like, oh, well, I really just want to have this amazing resort with all of these spectacular meals and this, that, the other. And then they're going to bring you a mass market resort. And I am looking like at the Mexicos and that sort of thing for this particular analogy. They're going to bring you this one that is like 18 restaurants. And so on paper, that sounds great. But you know from having sold it before that this is the process for getting reservations in those a la cartes and that they're limited to 3 a la cartes per week. I remember having that battle so many times. They're like, but there's 18 restaurants. Why do I only get 3 reservations? Because that's the rules. So in which case, if the meals are what is most important, having a la carte dinner every single night, heck, I love me a good a la carte lunch. The resorts that were a la carte everything was absolutely my go-to. Heck, when I go on a cruise ship, I love to go to the dining room for my other meals rather than the buffet because I love the whole experience of fresh cooked to order. So they need to understand that just because it has 18 restaurants does not mean you are entitled to eat at every one of those restaurants during the time that they're there. You want to make sure that they understand that so that they're going to experience what it is that they think they're going to. And then what else is that for? Well, I don't know about you, but if you've been around any length of time during these last 2 years, I'm pretty sure cancellation changes, refunds, et cetera, has definitely hit your radar. So it is all about the file management. How many times have you encountered a sched change? My goodness, with what the hold times are with tour operators right now, why on earth would you want to do that for free? I'm sorry, the commission the tour operators are paying is not worth it to sit on hold for literally hours. I remember when I had my brick and mortar agency, we had multiple phones, multiple phone lines. And I could not imagine, because especially in today's world where so many travel advisors are working from home, I could not imagine sitting on hold on one cell phone while your house line is doing something and then possibly having to have a third phone of some sort just so you can actually contact the client. The panic when the tour operator would be like, well, either ask the client right now or you're going to have to call me back, and knowing that it would be a 4 to 6 or 8 hour hold time. Just that's not in my wheelhouse whatsoever. So your fee is also for the hours, weeks, months, years of expertise that you have. It is for the amount of time that you have spent getting to know all the things that you do. If you've ever been on a fam trip, and again, talking about those Mexico Caribbeans, just for, because apparently that's what's stuck in my head. It's getting to be winter up here in Alberta. So I may be dreaming of a beach pretty quickly here. But I remember going on fam after fam down into the Mayan or into Punta Cana or places like that, and touring in the span of a week. I think the most I ever did was 87 resorts in 1 week. And, you know, I know an awful lot of American travel advisors, and I think they may have just spit out their coffee. But sometimes that's what it's like for the Canadian tour operators when they do a FAM for us, is that we go and see every single property that they have in it. It is awful. You know, don't get me wrong. I love the evenings. Wow, I'm chasing a squirrel here. But it is hard work. It is hot, sweaty, hard work. But you've been boots on the ground. And if you yourself have not been boots on the ground, odds are good you know another travel advisor who has, or you know the tour operator who has. Up here in Canada prior to COVID, we'd be able to reach out to our business development managers. I know some of them are just coming back, but of course not all of them are here. But the thing is that you have put in that time. You have invested it in understanding the properties, in understanding all the different things. But more importantly, you have started to put the work into understanding your clients. In our travel sales authority, the very first module in the course is all about personalities, to understand the personalities and how to sell to them and things like that. But also too, to make sure that they don't end up with something that they don't want for the sake of making everybody else happy. There's so many times that people will sacrifice their own happiness just to make sure that other people are in fact happy. But the other things that are included in that, of course, is the investment that you've put into perfecting your craft. You know, I always hear this, and right now, and I don't intend to get political or anything. So if you've got crank on this, just, I don't know, www, email customer service, doesn't care. But here's the deal. I am hearing right now, every time I open social media up here, especially in Alberta, there's a big battle on to get the nurses paid more money, this, that, the other. Don't get me wrong. They are such an essential part of it and everything else. But I actually had a really intense debate with a friend of mine who's a nurse. She's like, but we put in 4 years of schooling. And a lot of travel professionals don't have schooling. There is a number of them that do, that have taken a 2 or 3 year program. So we're not that terribly far off. What a travel advisor makes coming out of college versus what a nurse makes is significantly different. We have travel advisors who haven't made anything in the last 2 years versus nurses who have made, I don't want to say too much because that sounds wrong, but they've put in so many hours, but they've at least been paid for every one of them. But the thing is that just like a nurse is going to keep improving their skills and their training in this, that, the other, or a vet tech, or an accountant, any of those professional services, they're going to keep improving their skills. So too do travel advisors. They are constantly upgrading their knowledge, constantly upgrading their practical experiences. They're attending multiple conferences a year, plus doing fam trips and everything else. It's not just because we want to go have a great time and have a good old party. It is because the good travel advisors, don't get me wrong, some of them just use it for travel for themselves, but the good ones are doing it to improve their training, improve their knowledge, improve their skill set. You should be compensated for that. You absolutely should be paid for that, and not just by the supplier. There is limited things that are going to go into that. who's to say that the suppliers are going to keep paying commission? When we all come out of this on the other end, there's going to be mass restructuring that is going to take place among our suppliers. Some of them are going to decide that they don't need the agents. I think some of us saw that during COVID when you saw the response that you got from certain suppliers and things like that. You know which ones doubled down on helping travel advisors, and you know which ones doubled down on doing it themselves. You've seen that. I've seen that. That's as far as we're going to go there. But we know that you're constantly upgrading your skills and just everything that goes into running your business. You should be paid on that. Now, because this is a 3-part, and I know that the next one, when we interview Kate Sullivan, is a longer episode, I'm going to try and keep this one super short. But I want to leave you with one very, very critical thought. I know that you're committed to serving your clients full out. I know that you have your clients' interests at heart all the time. But when you work for somebody, they have to pay you. And when you're not charging your clients a service fee, you're being paid by the supplier. And that means only one thing. You now work for the supplier. You are a part of their sales team doing what is in their best interest, not in the best interest of your clients. And so when you have a client that comes to you and says, but so-and-so is not making me pay a fee, why would I pay you? And say, it's very simple. Because when my clients pay me a service fee or pay my service fee, I work for them, not the supplier that will give me the best commission. And it is always going to be my goal, my preference to work for my clients, not my suppliers. And while, yes, it is wonderful to receive a bonus from my supplier, I always want to make sure that we, without a doubt, have a clear understanding that I work for the client first. So if you want me to work for you and put your interests above everybody else, that is why I charge a fee. If you're okay with being the afterthought and just based on who I can get the best commission from, no problem. I won't charge you a fee, but know that your trip might cost you more because I might have to go to somebody who will pay me more. It's really, really important that we make sure that our clients understand that we want to work with them, that we want to work for them, not just with them, but for them as well. And as travel advisors, and I did an Enneagram session with a friend of mine a little while ago, and she was saying, I think it was number 7 is my primary. And she said that's very common. Actually, a lot of the travel industry is made up of that because they're always looking for new adventures and new this, that, the other, but that they also want to help, that they want to make sure that they're helping so much. And I've seen it so many times that a travel advisor will waive their service fee, or worse yet, they will spend hours trying to find a hotel for $10 cheaper because they want to make sure that they got the very, 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 very best price for their client, only to be told by the client afterwards, wow, I thought it was going to be at least a couple $100 higher. Okay, well, whatever. You can't decide for your client what is the best price. You also cannot spend all of your time on one client trying to shave that price the best. So long as you are in personal integrity with yourself and with your client to say that from the suppliers that I work with, from how I operate my business, this is what I found. That's good enough. It does not have to be that you are going to find somebody who you don't even know for sure that that is the right thing and this, that, the other. Clients may ask you if it can be done for less. A lot of times they're just going to ask. Have you ever heard that saying, it never hurts to ask? Well, sometimes they're just going to ask. It doesn't mean that they actually want it for less. And if you have a client that comes to you and says, no, you need to sharpen your pencil, we need to shave that down even further, I need you to say, no, not every client is the right client for me. Because we all know that when you look at a hotel, there are rooms with beautiful views, beautiful furniture, and beautiful sleeping arrangements. And then that same hotel has the room on the main floor between the elevator and the janitor's closet that overlooks the HVAC system that rumbles all night. And then I want you to ask yourself, was it worth it to save that $10 a night? I remember staying at a specific hotel at the Calgary airport the night before my sister's wedding. And I did stay at an agent rate. So I'm not going to complain because I didn't pay what the rest of them paid. But I also remember it was around the time that one of those big online travel companies had come out saying 5-star prices at 3-star, or pardon me, 3-star prices or 2-star prices in 5-star hotels. And I remember it was right in around that same time. This was about 10 years ago or so. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I get it. He's like, what are you talking about? And I said, I get it, because we were between the elevator and the janitor's closet, and the business center was right there. So doors were opening and closing all night long. The great big heaters and like big generators, everything was right outside our window. We couldn't see anything but big industrial fans and everything else. And we heard them kick on and off all night long. It was probably the worst sleep I've ever had in a hotel, but we paid an absolute fraction of what everybody else was paying. And when I went up to their rooms up on the top floor, I was like, ooh, these are nice rooms. They've been renovated. They're just cleaner. And man, are they ever quieter. So I want you to realize that you're going to get what you pay for. So whether that you're saving them that $10 on a room, or they're saving $100 on a service fee, or $500, or whatever the case might be, they're going to get what they pay for. And people understand that they're going to get what they pay for. So make sure you're not undervaluing yourself, because this is one last thought of the day. What are the chances people are passing on you because they're scared they're going to get what they pay for? And when they don't have to pay for anything, maybe they don't think that you're worth it, because they don't want to risk working with an amateur, because professionals are going to charge fees and amateurs work for free. So ask yourself, are you a professional or are you an amateur? And I don't mean that in a negative, derogatory way, but that is how consumers will look at it. Saying you don't charge fees is not a marketing strategy for the long term. That is a marketing strategy for right now. And it is going to become a race to the bottom, because as the tour operators start to cut commissions, which, I've been in the industry long enough to tell you that day is coming. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, commissions are going to start cutting with a number of our suppliers. But the other thing is that your clients will pay when they understand the value. And that's what we're going to be talking about in the third one, is that if you don't articulate your value, why on earth are they ever going to pay it? In fact, the number one reason most clients won't pay a fee is because the travel advisor can't confidently ask for it. If you stutter and stammer and apologize and everything else for it, why would they ever feel confident in paying somebody who's not confident? They're not. They want to work with a professional, and a professional who will absolutely stand behind the fees that they charge and confidently declare the services that they are going to provide in exchange for those fees. So until next week, I will catch you later. And don't forget to tune in. We have an amazing interview next week that I know you guys are going to love. Until then, if you have any questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram, Art of Selling Travel, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.